listening to the Astral Hour. I'm your host, Astral Meadow. Join me as we take a glimpse into the mysterious. Welcome everyone. Today I'm joined with my special guest, Sara and Robin. Together they run the Kefirian Society, an organization dedicated to raising awareness on milk kefir and water kefir worldwide. With over a decade of research and experience under their belts, they are ready to show the world why kefir is the hidden gem we've all been waiting on. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show.
Hey, we are so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you guys are the first people that found me and that I did not know.
Wow.
You know?
Seriously, that is so cool. Because you kind of already look pretty established. We were like, oh, whoa, you know.
Right, yeah, but at least, like, most of the people I had it casually met, maybe randomly, but when you reached out, I was like, okay, we must be, like, projecting pretty well to be getting
Wow,
new
that's
people.
exciting. Yeah, I was definitely picking it up. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, great. So, could you share a little bit about your story and how you first discovered kefir?
Yeah.
About 12 years ago, I had been sick for a long time with stomach trouble, and then I got like a patient's blood in my eye, and I got mono and Epstein-Barr and chronic fatigue syndrome, and I had that for 2 years. And at the end of that 2 years, I was left with ulcers all the way through my digestive system, and I couldn't eat anymore. And then on top of that, the doctor said I had psoriatic arthritis too, and wanted to put me on a chemo drug, which is a biologic. And I just said no, I can't do that, because I just didn't think that I was strong enough to go through that. And I went home, and I'm like, all these medicines have made me sick, and I've got to do something different, and I don't know what yet, but I'm going to do something different. And threw all my pills out and prayed for God to send me something to heal me. And then I'll let you finish the story.
All right. Well, this was my mom. I had seen her be an RN all my life, and taking care of people and watching her get sicker and sicker. And I knew that everything that we had tried up to that point had not worked. Any advice or anything, direction like that did not work. She was in bed, and I was starting to wonder if I was going to have to make arrangements. So I was pretty scared at that point, and I knew that there had to be something out there more than this. So I did a little research, and I came upon this probiotic drink that, according to what I was reading, they gave to patients, victims of like Chernobyl, and it had healed their ulcers and the nuclear damage from the inside out of their bodies. And I was like, whoa, okay, I might be onto something here. I couldn't find a lot of information about it, a couple websites, a little something called milk kefir. So I got on eBay, typed it in, found some, and ordered it. It came in the mail, and it looked like almost little squishy cauliflowers to drop down in milk, so I didn't know how well it was going to turn out once we got started with it.
Mm-hmm. So, did you struggle with the texture, or was there a way that you consumed it in the beginning to get you kind of adjusted to it?
At first it was kind of weird. I won't lie, it was a little weird, especially if you're not used to yogurt, you're not used to buttermilk.
It was a lot sour milk.
Yeah,
Okay.
like it's literally a fermented milk drink, so this was about as like foreign as you could get. Like, yeah, okay, we had a little cornbread and buttermilk at Mama's house growing up, but past that, this was new to us.
Uh-huh.
So one of the things that really, really helped us get started with it was we would strain it, off the grains, have like the good, like nice, whoa, thickened milk final product, but we would find, yeah, like you said, ways to drink it that was actually tasty and good, and we look forward to it. The first thing that we did was we found raw honey and dropped like a pretty good spoonful in there and just beat it until it was like this golden color.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so tasty and palatable and made it really, really easy to keep drinking it, because that's what we wanted to do. We were like, this might be promising, let's keep going. So then we found jelly and put it in there. We tried it in smoothies. We eventually found out there are two versions, milk and water kefir. This was the milk kefir that we first found.
Mm-hmm.
And it went well in ranch, different ways that you didn't think. Anywhere where buttermilk or yogurt could go, even sugar-free drink packs. We found lots of ways to make it easy to drink, to keep us drinking it, because we wanted to keep going with it.
Okay.
Because as soon as Mom started drinking it, there was an immediate difference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I hadn't been able to swallow anything, without pain. And the first sup I had of kefir didn't hurt I had mouth ulcers, didn't hurt my ulcerated mouth, didn't hurt my esophagus when I swallowed, and didn't hurt my stomach and bloat me 3 sizes, like everything had up until that point. And so I just, I'm like, I want some more of that, because I
Right.
felt, I had energy and strength off of it and knew that something was going on. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll have a little bit of that tomorrow. And it was, about 6 weeks, like a little bit of kefir every day. And there's no ulcers in my mouth. And I just suddenly one day was like starving to death for like green beans and carrots and like cabbage and like the realest things I could get my hands on. And little kefir every day, little real foods every day, little chicken, little fish. And after about 6 months, I had no gut issues.
Wow.
And then, I'm like, I'm staying on this. This feels great.
Right.
And then, I had arthritis in every joint. I had, I used to pull big things of water off my elbows and my knees.
Mm-hmm.
And my ACL had been in half, and hers too. And all this stuff, and from inflammation, just everything was just breaking us down. And just all this stuff that hurt me for 20 years just started going away. And I'm like, my God, is this the kefir? My skin had been just covered up from head to toe with psoriasis. I'm like, God, is this the kefir? I can't believe this. And after a whole about 12 months, I had nothing.
Wow.
And haven't took a pill since.
Oh, wow. So it really went beyond what you guys even imagined.
Shockingly. Like people don't, it's so astounding, even to me, that other people have a hard time believing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing about it. Like, it's so unbelievable that it's like...
And I took the same thing that other, I took, like all the NSAIDs and Pepsid and prednisone and pain pills. That's what I took for 20 years.
Right.
And none of it ever helped or healed. And it just kept me inflamed up until the point that they said, oh, well, you've got autoimmune now too.
Right.
And I'm like, nuh-uh.
Right.
I didn't know at the time, but, I'm like, I'm not taking that.
Right.
Just not taking that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Could you give us a little history on kefir and where it comes from?
Yes. Milk kefir, let's see, there are 2 different versions. There's a milk kefir version, the one that we found. And if you're looking for something a little more vegan or a little more palatable, there's a water kefir version.
Okay.
It's called tibicos. That comes from Mexico. It's a very interesting history. They talked about the ewes and the lambs down by the river would be lactating. And they said their tetanus, their milk would go into the riverside, and the reaction of bacteria, they said that they found little crystals growing.
Huh.
And then they picked that up. That's what they call tibicos, or California bees, or water kefir.
Uh-huh.
With milk kefir, it's a little more ancient. Milk kefir is thousands upon thousands of years old. First recorded in the Caucasus Mountains. There are legends that Muhammad gave it to the people from Allah himself. There are legends that Abraham received it from God himself. There are legends that Noah was given to it by the angels on the ark.
Mm-hmm.
The exact origins are not completely clear, but it's been around a long, long time. Usually shows up in a lot of blue zones where people live a long time, and there are many, many legends of, almost gods or messianic figures surrounding it.
Wow.
It's pretty wild. There's a lot of legend. There's like a Russian story of a princess being captured, and what did she demand for her people? Silver, gold, rubies. It was like, no, kefir grains.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. The more you look into it, there's a lot of history and almost mythology, mystical, stuff
Yeah.
surrounding this food, this grain, wherever it showed up. there was almost like reverence surrounding it. Another name for it is Tibetan mushrooms, because the Tibetan monks drunk it.
Okay.
It was
They lived a long time, like
yeah.
over 200 years.
That's wild that
Yeah.
it's so ingrained in our
Yes.
history, and yet none of us know about
Very
it.
hidden from the
Yeah.
United States. Yeah, they
So,
do not
A
push
lot of other
this.
countries, yeah, a
because
lot
I love
of
mythology, I have never really, I was never really taught anything about that. So,
We didn't hear about it ever until we needed it,
right.
And yeah, thank God we found it.
Where you have to seek it out. It's
Yeah.
not.
yeah, it comes to you when you're ready. It almost feels like
Right.
that in a way. It's like it appeared when we asked for it, and
Yeah.
immediately when we started drinking it, it was like we almost got rid of like traditional deodorant, stopped eating processed foods.
Yeah, it's
Almost in a
weird,
way, the kefir, it was like this immediately started happening without us meaning to.
Right. It's like a whole awakening about like
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
mind,
about
body,
like,
spirit.
natural
I've never
products
felt
and
like I've
yeah.
never eaten like a food, just on its own that kind of did that. I can see why there's a lot of reverence surrounding it. Let's put it like that.
It's your friendly little symbiote that comes and lives in
Yes.
your belly and kind of gives you these gut feelings that kind of help you and kind of like, you ever do that. And it, like, if you really want to talk about gut feelings, you heal your gut with this stuff. You can listen to your gut.
Right, with the gut, that's the gut mind connection, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
so you're
Oh,
you're healing your
yes.
gut, but now you're starting to think differently
Yes.
because you're like expanding your mind more.
Absolutely.
So, but I don't think people really put two and two together with that. And I think sometimes you'll even suggest it, to some child that has some sensitivity, and people are like, "Oh God, like this crazy woman," But it really is like if I'm having gut issues, I get like bad brain fog.
Me
My
too.
eyes
Yeah.
get like feel swollen. Like I get dizzy. So if my gut's messed up, I'm not thinking clearly. So I can
Yeah.
only imagine.
I had cataracts. It was ready for surgery and went back, and they said you don't have cataracts anymore. That's
Oh
what
my.
Kefir done.
Yeah, their
Wow.
doctor
Yeah.
literally said, "Well, these will be ready for surgery in 5 years. Come back then." She
Oh
came back in
wow.
5 years. The doctor said, "I said what?" It was pretty wild, and these
Yeah.
things keep happening.
It's
And the
almost
first big difference was the milk kefir, which helped us make these bigger changes in our lives. Like we
right.
drank it first, and then it made it easier to get rid of processed stuff because once it changed your cravings, it was easier to let go of sugar and carbs, white carbs and the stuff that
Without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like your gut bacteria just kind of like, hey, you don't need old crap.
instead of just grabbing
You know?
and feeling yourself grab it when you're, when you think about like, oh, letting go of it, it makes it a lot easier.
I mean,
Makes
I,
it.
I remember like lusting after like real Whole Foods, like I used to lust after a good looking man.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Kefir just took over, like
Oh wow. That's
kale with
that's
olive
bull
oil,
hockey. You need this good food here so you can heal, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked.
yeah, once you get on a whole food diet, as soon as you eat the bad foods again, like you just immediately feel different. And it's like you
Yeah.
don't want to do it because you don't want to feel bad, even if it tastes
No.
good,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, I live like this? I mean, everyone has kind of been taught from birth to live like this? Like,
Oh, I
whoa,
know.
Yeah, I was raised on breakfast cereal. I watched
Oh, yeah.
Bewitched, and every commercial that come on television was selling Sugar Smacks and all
Uh-huh.
these other cereals, and I ate that stuff, and I was that sick little kid that was nervous
Me
and
too.
always crying around, and my belly hurt all the time, and trying to get out
Yep.
of school, and that was me. My belly hurt until I found my belly hurt my whole life until I found Kefir.
Oh,
Literally.
right. Yeah. Yeah, I was similar. I just grew up on processed foods. I barely even drank water as a child. I was drinking sodas and
Yeah,
like Capri
same
Suns
here.
and
Yeah.
so and then
Yeah, oh my
wondering
gosh,
why I was
Squeeze-Its,
sick. Yeah, I was on
Mondo,
antibiotics
yeah.
so
Yeah, us too.
often.
Yeah,
Like I would say
after
like
the
6 months out of the year, I was probably on antibiotics.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
same
probably
here.
where my gut really got messed up. Like the food, lowered all of that immune system and then started messing with the gut and then the antibiotics.
Yeah, kills
Oh,
out all your good, everything that you got in you to fight with. The antibiotics comes along and kills it, and then we can't think straight. We
Right.
can't act straight. You can't work right. Nothing's right. You're just
Right.
out of funk. Just funky and out of sorts all the time.
Yeah, when I
Our
was
gut has that much to do with
Yeah, when
everything.
I was younger, I was like really depressed and ADD, and I still have a little bit of
Yes,
ADD,
still
but
80,
I
yeah.
don't have to take anything for it. You know what
Mm-mm.
I mean? Because it's
Yes.
not debilitating anymore, and I really do think it was the diet. So I
It,
can only
Yeah.
imagine when I start drinking this
100%.
kefir,
A
Oh,
hundred
I'm
it's
gonna
kind
percent.
of
like
magical. Yeah,
I'm gonna
it's
level up.
Listen, I'm excited for you.
I'm
I'm
yeah,
so
excited for you.
excited. Yeah,
this is what we're here. We're just
Yes.
like this exists. Here's what it can do for you. Here's how you can get started.
yeah.
Like because if we had known about it, we would have got started way sooner.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know?
this brought hope when, like, that's what I had. That's all I had was
Uh
hope.
huh.
I'm like, there's got to be something out there. And that hope, we manifested this
Yeah.
through that hope. And like every day, I mean, I got that kefir and like, I just like stood either on my feet or on my face in gratitude for this.
Mhm.
And I think the gratitude and the kefir together,
Mm-hmm.
just changed my DNA.
Yeah.
And there's just no more, there's no more autoimmune in our family. We kicked it out.
That's wild. I feel like half of the people I know have some kind of autoimmune disease these days. It is so common that it's like what's causing this? Why does everyone have this suddenly, you know?
Yeah.
So
We're the
it's
first generation to wake up to what our parents were taught was like, at 40 you start getting arthritis. Oh, at 60 you have all these joint replacements.
According to all my friends' memes, 30, you start waking up.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't feel like I'm like a health fanatic, but I do some movement and like some yoga. I try to eat healthy, and I feel like people look at me and they're like, "How do you have all this energy? Like what are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm not doing that much." It's what I'm not doing.
Yeah, it's
It's
what you're
not what
not
I am
dwelling on.
doing.
It's what
Yeah.
you're not, yeah, because if you just look around and there's so much to dwell on and so much to just turn your stomach constantly and make you sick, and it's almost like you're expected to look at that
Uh-huh.
and then be a part of that, and then it's like you see traumatizing stuff on TV, and then the next
Oh, yeah.
commercial is ask your doctor,
Uh-huh.
and and you're kind of born into
And you got
this,
to go to
and
work every day, so why wouldn't you ask your doctor for something to make you not hurt?
yeah,
Because
Yeah,
if
that's what
because
that's all
everybody
there is,
does.
if that's all you know
Yeah,
about,
that's all you know.
yeah.
yeah, I
And I was a
cannot
nurse. That's
do
all I knew.
commercials. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a hypochondriac, but I swear when I hear those commercials, I start feeling sick. I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, I can't believe people could listen to this
Yeah, wouldn't it be
commercial."
awful if you had
Yeah, when they
all
start
these
talking about the side
symptoms?
effects at the end
Yeah.
of it is the
Oh.
scariest part.
Exactly.
The
I'm
side
like,
effects are death.
Yeah.
exactly. Death would like they could have just stopped at death. They don't even need to list the
And
other
they
ones.
say it in the most sweetest voice while people are playing with puppies and they're just talking in
Exactly.
detail about these
If you
grisly,
want to get back to
grisly.
life and have a normal life, side effects, death. TB,
Exactly. Like, good
death.
luck getting back to life.
Yeah.
And I'm not against all the pharmaceuticals. Some people
No.
have things that I recognize it's necessary, but I think a lot of them
A
is a
lot of them have saved
lifestyle
my life when
choice.
I needed them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's these little things that we can change about our lives,
Yes.
and it's profound healing. I mean, our body just soaks it up, and it's like, oh my God, thank you for finally like feeding me good food. Thank you for drinking water today. It's
Thank
like,
you for this
Oh.
yoga. Thank you. We've been doing like
yes,
the 5 Tibetan rites, this little thing. It's like called, you know about that?
a little
Also
bit, yeah.
called the Fountain of Youth. We love
Mm-hmm.
that. And a little bit of Qigong. It just
Yeah.
all feels so
Yes.
good.
Fantastic
Yeah.
stuff. Love it.
Yes, it's really just that whole lifestyle shift, and
Yes.
it makes you just stay. It does. It makes you stay young for so long.
Yeah, and you realize, I mean, I got into the Qigong. It's like, I just felt like, I'm 61, and it's like, I need to do something
Wow, I
different.
wouldn't
And
have
it
thought
says,
that.
your chakras kind of get stopped up
Uh
as
huh.
you get older. And I found, what was the first one I found? The one that I like did my head and got sick. I
Oh,
couldn't do that one.
Kundalini.
A Kundalini yoga, and that was kind of.
Yeah.
I do
And I would
Kundalini
do
yoga.
any of
Love
that
it.
and just cry.
Uh
I mean,
huh.
any of it. I mean, the Qigong and the Kundalini just like it would just like tear me open.
You can feel
every
the
time.
energy movement.
Right.
Yeah.
Kundalini is very
Yeah.
much focused on the emotional body, and so yeah, it's not much as much about the movements of getting into that deep emotional state. So
love
it
that.
really
Yeah.
does. It releases so
Yeah.
much.
And you're talking about our background. We're kind of Pentecostal.
Mm-hmm.
We were kind of
Raised.
raised in, I guess, if you think about ecstatic, we were raised in a very ecstatic church.
Okay.
Very worshipful, and we got the Holy Ghost a long time ago. And so we've not gone to church in a long time, but we're very spiritual.
Right.
You don't have to have religion to be spiritual.
Exactly. Yeah, that Holy Spirit, it's called many things and it
Yeah.
rests all around us.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
in, it's in us. It's
Yeah, it's right here waiting on you. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
So
really
it was
tap
almost
into
like that
it.
was the Kefir was the next step.
Yeah.
Somehow, it's like we
Yeah.
prayed and here it was. And
Yeah, well, you think about what you were talking about, like Kundalini and chakras. I mean, if you think about the solar plexus and like healing
yeah,
that,
yeah,
That
yeah.
has been a
And
big
it's just
thing is
like,
healing, yeah, the solar plexus, the gut. I
I've
mean,
had to go
yes.
through shadow work. I mean, some deep, deep, deep things because at 2, I had to go to live with my grandparents, and there was a lot of molestation in amongst my family.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I've had to heal from, and so I just held that in my stomach for a long time.
Wow,
Even going to
yeah.
church and never even, like, oh, here you are, and it's all under the blood. No, it's never been dealt with.
Right.
I've held it in here, and it's in all my joints and on all my skin. And
Yeah.
I had to go through, like, all kind of healing and be ready for it. And, oh, God, here's, I need something. And here it was. It just all was a part of it.
Yeah, because that chakra is really like self-esteem, self-worth. So it would make
Yes.
sense that having such
your
a
power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yes, you're and if you had that kind of taken from you, and then it limited your self-esteem, or just like your own, like how you're identifying with yourself. Like it makes sense that you would have an issue like that where you would need a
And see,
little
my
support.
grandmother was with a man that kind of did the same thing to her. And she had rheumatoid, she had RA.
Yeah, that's that
Yeah,
generational thing
that
we were talking
generational
about.
curse
It
that
just
we
keeps going
broke the
on.
crap out
We
of.
were yeah, we were both born into it
Yes.
and we have broken it.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, people look at me like, "Why are you thriving?" I'm like, "It's because I am not doing that. I'm
Yeah, why
not
you
doing no
why are you
Absolutely, I'm
thriving
not
though?
doing
Yeah,
that.
like
I have moved past that the trauma there."
Yes,
So,
ma'am. Yes.
um,
Yeah.
so we've talked a little bit about some of the issues that Kefir helps with, but I guess could you go into some of the other things like the people that you've worked with have healed and
yes, we sold it at our local farmers market for a while and got to
okay.
meet a lot of people then and got to just really see what it did to people, short term and long term.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that we got to see over and over is the first thing right off, even within the first week, gut issues would start to be healed. And not
Mm-hmm.
just, IBS, IBD, Crohn's symptoms, UC symptoms. Kefir is unusual as a probiotic because it's even SIBO friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to, the first thing we saw was people coming back. Wait a minute. I wasn't on the toilet 10 hours a day this week. What's going on? Or like, I didn't wake up with heartburn in my
Uh-huh.
mouth every night this week. What's going on? Like, it was the first thing that happened was that. But you start drinking it longer, that's when you start seeing joint issues. That would be the thing that came next. I have a close family member, amazing dude. He was he had a clubfoot surgery early on, and he had early onset arthritis. At like 20, his doctor was telling him that he was going to have to get on disability. And, I was looking at him and his beautiful fiance, and they had their whole lives ahead of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like, hey, I've got this thing if y'all want to try it. And they were like, sure, we'll try anything at this point. So I got them drinking it. I gave them a water kefir. I gave them grains to set up, a jar, little non-metal strainer, and they started putting it with pineapple juice, making really nice fizzy drinks.
Mm-hmm.
And after a couple of weeks, his fiance messaged me and was like, something is happening. Something is like happening. Could it be the kefir? And oh my gosh, I swear we're going to write a book called Could It Be the Kefir? Because that's just what you start saying. Like it's disbelief. No way. And I was like, it might be. Just stick with it. Stick with it. 4 weeks, she was like, no way. 6 weeks, they kept drinking it. Even I think maybe a time or two a week or a few ounces a day. Not even that much. But they kept on the water kefir.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very anti-inflammatory. And eventually, about 2 months down the road, 2 to 3 months, he went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, I don't know what you're doing, but I see no signs of arthritis in
Wow.
your foot. And he did not go on disability. He got a job. He is on his feet. He'll just be like, hey, check this out. And like raise his pant leg up, and there will be no
Wow.
swelling, no just like hot burning. And it we got to see their lives change, and it was beautiful.
Oh my goodness.
And it's
Wow.
that kind of stuff that we just keep seeing. If you stay on kefir, milk kefir, water kefir, it doesn't matter. If you stay on it, things will start to change. It's incredible.
So you've said grains a lot. So
Right,
it
yeah.
is it gluten free? So
It
people
is
Oh, it's
gluten
not like a
free.
grain.
Yeah,
It's-
that
it's-
is the
it's
weirdest
the-
thing about it. There are a lot of names for. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay. So anyway, you can call it crystals. You can call it. Basically, grains are a more accurate word would be like a culture,
Okay.
almost like a kombucha SCOBY
Okay.
or like a sourdough culture.
Okay.
Like it's not. There are no grains in it. I don't know how they got that name. But both with milk kefir and water kefir, you do need little separate cultures to drop in the milk or the water to get them to culture, and that's what you strain out of them and put back into fresh medium to make more. But it is very gluten free. The water kefir version is, of course, very vegan. It's raw. You don't have to heat anything to get it going. The milk version is just like you can use if you have, if, laws depending, disclaimers and all, if you can get a hold of raw milk, great, awesome. If you can only get just like regular whole milk or 2% from like Walmart, that's great too. Anything to get it started. It does need lactose, however. It eats the lactose out and gives you the enzymes you need to digest lactose. But it does need some form, so it has trouble living on like nut milk. So there is milk kefir is not as vegan, as water kefir. It is vegetarian, but there is still lactose involved.
Right.
But if you do have lactose problems, milk kefir has been scientifically proven to, yes, remove all symptoms of lactose intolerance and let you enjoy milk and cheese and all that fun stuff again.
So when you're preparing it, so you brought me a little bag of the little goopy looking things. So I would put that in a jar.
Yeah,
And-
this is a water kefir grains. So you'd
Okay.
put them, you'd mix some sugar, like any raw sugar or white sugar with, some filtered water or spring water. You drop the cultures down in there, and you cover it either tightly or just like with a little cloth and a rubber band. And after a while, the cultures, the grains will eat the sugar out of it, and you will have probiotic, basically water to strain off and add tea bags in. I love cold brewing tea with it. You can mix juice with it, cap it, and it gets kind of effervescent. It's really versatile. And then you strain the cultures, out of the prepared water and put it back into fresh sugar and water and start the process all over again.
So how long does it usually sit in the water before you would say drink it?
Let's see. Some people say 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
We like hours with most of the sugar out of it because the longer it sits, the less sugar there'll be. We at first started trying to drink it when it was really sweet, and we kind of realized we don't want a bunch of sugar. So then
Right.
we tried waiting maybe like 5 days, even up to 7 days when it's colder, and then you'll taste it, and it's almost like lemonade. There's hardly any sweet to it. And to us, that's when it's perfect and ready
Okay.
to add to anything else.
Okay. And so you would need to have the strainer beforehand. And is the milk cover the same? Is it about 48 hours?
The milk kefir is almost even shorter. I'll just put the grains and the cultures, just drop them down in there, pour milk on top of it, cap it in like a quart jar, put it on top of my fridge, and in 24 hours it'll be thickened and kind of nice and thick and ready to go, and I'll stick it in the fridge, get it good and cold, and then that's when I strain it.
Okay.
And at this point, I either drink it straight or I love it with a little salt and pepper and olive oil. It sounds odd, but it's really good.
So it sits outside of the fridge most of the time, and you just refrigerate it when you're getting close to wanting to drink it.
Yes, it is. Some cultures need higher temperatures to ferment. This is the kind of culture, both water and milk, that it ferments at room temperature.
Okay.
It does sound a little weird getting milk, leaving milk at room temperature. It kind of goes against everything you've been taught. Kefir kind of does that. You just start unlearning as soon as you're like, what is this? But leaving it out, it'll thicken without getting, bad.
Right.
Like it'll thicken into something full, of tons of like different strains of probiotic bacteria and yeast and enzymes and everything.
Wow. Okay. That's so exciting. I
I
had my
know.
friend give me a jar of kefir years ago, okay? And I was living with my dad and I had it sitting out and I hadn't even tried it yet because I was still learning about it. She never gave me any instructions, so I was like, I
Oh
don't
man,
know what to
it's
do
like,
with this.
here you go, have
And my
fun.
dad was like, he threw it away and I was like, where's that jar? And he was like, I thought it was rotten.
Yeah.
I was like,
I had the same thing happen.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
no.
I never really
In-laws.
actually got to fully to learn about it because he was like, I didn't know you wanted that.
Yeah, it is so different, especially if you've been born and raised in America, than kind of anything you've seen in a lot of other countries in Europe. They
Hmm.
kind of grow up with veal or fem yolk or nice, good, thick milk out of a carton or kefir in, a lot of European countries. And the most that we really see as far as like gut healing, it's like Activia.
Hmm.
That's about as far as we
It's
go
got all
with
this
it.
sugar and
Yeah, and then it's like maybe one or two beneficial strains instead of like the literal dozens that you can get out of kefir.
right. I'm curious because I used to take a probiotic pill and I just didn't feel off of it. And then I did a little, or I was on a group where we share lots of health stuff, and someone was like, you're really not, if it's in a pill and it's just sitting out, you're not getting the live strains. And so I just stopped taking it. But this is exciting because this is the probiotics, right? But it's
Yeah.
This is stuff
alive.
that they make that stuff
Yeah, I
out
was
of.
going to say
Right.
these are like the strains that they will just isolate and put into this. Yeah, but
Yeah.
they are all, it's very, very, it's like the most living food and like all these dozens of strains of beneficial bacteria in there together,
Hmm.
synergistically working for like maximum benefit. Oh, it's awesome.
So this is like the only food that you can really consume that is alive. You don't
Yeah.
have to kill it. You
No, you don't
literally
have to
drink it,
kill
it's
it.
alive, it lives
Lives
inside
inside
you.
of you. It
Yeah.
like it
It
becomes the
colonizes
lining
you.
of
Yeah.
your whole microbiota. It
Wow.
becomes the lining that's been taken away by the pills.
Wow.
It lines, you'll have different kinds of bacteria living in your mouth, different kinds in your stomach, all the way down, and different kinds in your, in your gut that, do part of your, help you to digest in different ways.
Right.
That, and heal in different ways until you don't have anything wrong anymore.
Right. I feel like it's going to be miraculous for me because I have had GERD on and off. So I went so long without having a flare up, and I usually do herbs. I have an herbalist that I work with.
Oh, that's cool.
But lately, the herbs are not touching it. And I'm like drinking like apple cider vinegar and like hot water and I'm doing all these things and it does help a little, but it's like it's not curing it. And I felt very defeated after feeling like I went
Yeah.
months without a flare up. And it's not what I eat. It's like when I don't eat, I have a little bit of reflux. When I do eat, it's not just orange juice.
Mm-hmm.
So and I can even tell my voice has shifted from the
Oh,
acid. So
yeah.
when you were talking about like the lining, like I know my
Yeah.
poor esophagus is like gonna be so
Yeah, when you're
thankful.
laying there and that acid's up in your throat at night,
I know.
it does. It takes everything off.
Right. And I
I
eat
live.
healthy, you
Her
know?
too. She had worse GERD than I did.
Mm,
That's where it starts.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I eat such a good diet and I'm very aware of like taking things out. You know, like I
Mhm.
had the food allergies. I'm basically allergic to
Mhm.
everything.
Mm.
So if I know something is not good for me, I take it out immediately.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, it doesn't matter what I take out because I'm supposed to be, I think, adding something, you know?
Yeah.
So
I
you
know
can
what you
only
mean.
eliminate so much in your life, but I think I need the good probiotics. I think it's going
Oh
to
yeah.
be,
It's going to be amazing. I'm very excited
yeah,
for
I'll
you.
keep you guys in the loop as I do
Oh,
it so I can like
fantastic.
share
Yes. This
it.
journey. Yeah, because it is like a journey.
Yeah, and my husband, I mean, he's been taking omeprazole for 10 years, you know? And so, and my dad died, you know, he had esophageal cancer. And so
Mhm.
I'm over here like when I get the GERD, I start freaking out, you know, because of my dad's issue. And when I get it, I get this like clump in my throat. And that, you know, he had a tumor there. And so
Oh
every time I
gosh.
start, it like gives me an anxiety attack. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get throat cancer, you know? So it triggers so much anxiety where some people are like, yeah, I just got heartburn. But like when I think of heartburn, I think of what it does over time. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
got to figure this out,
So
you
my
know?
grandmother died of diverticulitis, and
Uh
that's
huh.
another thing that I got healed of. Our
Oh,
whole
I know
family had gut
so many
issues.
people with
Yeah.
diverticulitis these days, and I had never even heard about it, but now I guess as soon as someone told me about it, then I'm like, all these people I know are having like surgeries, going in and having to take parts of their intestines out, like,
Thank God for Kefir. Yeah.
yeah.
They
So,
did, like, before I got on it, they did, like, remove polyps and stuff a
uh
couple
huh,
of times and a couple of precancers. And then I got on the
yeah.
Kefir, and it's been fine.
It's
So
been
it's
fine
like your
since,
gut and
yeah.
like all your intestines benefit, like the colon and
It's
Everything.
like
Yeah.
from the gut out. Like that's the first thing that starts getting healed and repaired is the large intestine, then small intestine, then throat, then just
oh
from
my,
there out, and then come the joints, and then come the autoimmune and the chronic inflammation, and maybe inflammation in your brain and in the mood and anxiety, and it just goes from there. It's
It is. It's
wild.
like healing from the inside out. You'll just watch yourself heal from the inside out.
right. So coming from like a scientific standpoint, what is it exactly? Like it's coding, it's like how would you explain this to a doctor that was skeptical of like the technical
Well, the
things behind
first
it?
thing I would do is I would show him the variety of probiotics in it.
Okay.
There are usually about from 1 dozen to maybe up to 3 dozen different beneficial strains like lactobacillus, all of that, many, many different kinds. It gets in there, and anywhere where there is increased intestinal permeability, that's what it starts repairing.
Mm-hmm.
Any leaky gut
It's
symptoms, it goes in
wise.
there. It kind of, kefir is itself kind of a polysaccharide matrix,
Yeah.
and it kind of goes in there and starts weaving a protective barrier the same way. It helps you absorb the nutrients that you may have not been getting.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you the enzymes that you need to digest food. Even like maybe you've had trouble with, cruciferous vegetables or certain grains. Yeah, grains are really hard to eat. And I don't really suggest eating unfermented grains anyway. But, kefir will even start helping you digest the tougher stuff. It goes in there, it takes away the inflammation that causes a lot of gut issues.
Mm-hmm.
And doing that, as it heals the permeability, that starts healing your joints and it starts lifting brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes from there. It replenishes your gut bacteria. It, gives you the good armies, fights the bad armies. And before you know it, yeah, you're kind of walking around kind of more of a whole person because of all these beneficial strains just living and working in your body, serving you.
And suddenly you can digest your food, and you're not
Uh-huh.
starving to death no more. You know?
Right. That's probably why you start
Yeah.
shifting into the whole foods is
Yeah.
because you're
Yeah,
actually getting the nutrients you need, and
Yeah.
so you're not craving like
It's not
chips and
shooting. It's
stuff.
not
exactly. Like,
shooting out as soon as you eat it. That's
Right.
yeah,
when you got IBS. You just live like that. You just
and it really
get nervous
does.
and everything just shoots out the back door.
Oh my gosh,
But this, yeah,
yes.
it ended all that.
So how often do you suggest people consume the kefir? We've already kind of talked about it's not just for sick people. Is it like people can do it more for maintenance so they don't get sick to begin
Yeah,
with, right?
I will
absolutely.
say yes, not only does it heal, but yeah, it maintains that healing. And I will say, yeah, if I go couple to a few weeks without drinking it, I will start seeing that stuff creeping back.
Uh huh.
Like, maybe after 3 weeks, okay, let's be honest, like a month,
Indigestion to come back.
yeah,
Yeah.
here
Uh huh.
comes belly stuff. Here comes, whoa, what's
Yeah,
going
if my
on?
belly hurts, my foot'll hurt the next
Yeah,
day.
here comes heartburn. Here comes brain fog, all that achy stuff. So, yeah, I have noticed, even eating well,
Uh huh.
you know, if I don't do the kefirs, at least a time or two a week, then I will start noticing these old symptoms that it took away when I started drinking it.
But if you have a cup, like a half a cup every day, you probably won't have any symptoms.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would say starting out, definitely between 2 and 4 ounces a day.
Okay.
No, excuse me. Because it is a pretty powerful probiotic and
Uh
it's going
huh.
to be reshaping your gut. So if you feel like, okay, day one, chug a quart, yeah, I mean, you're going to run to the bathroom. Yeah, you'll come out glowing, but I don't know if you want to if you really want to do that, cool, but I feel like a gentler way to get your body used to it is,
Right.
yeah, maybe like a shot, a double shot, 2 ounces, 4 ounces. And maybe after the first week, see how that treats you. 6 ounces, 8 ounces. After a couple of weeks, just go from there.
Uh-huh.
You see what your body tells you, and that applies to milk kefir or water kefir.
So I've got my jar. This is just hypothetical. Sitting on the counter, am I just drinking out of that? Is there any point where that's going to go bad sitting out? Is there a point where I should, like,
I will say it does seem after if
if
once
I
it
haven't
eats.
finished the quart in a week, should I just pour that water out and go ahead and just start new?
I would say it would be really probiotic and beneficial, so I would keep that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would say maybe even after a couple of months of it sitting out, and
Oh, you can
after you
keep it in
don't
the
change the
fridge. You keep
water,
it in the
yeah, keep it
fridge.
in the fridge. It's
Yeah.
going to be good for like years.
Okay.
But out, yeah, it is going to eat the sugar out of it after a while, and it might get stronger and stronger tasting. And maybe after a few months, you'll want to change.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like you might want fresh grains after a few months. Maybe after a week or two, yeah, you could change it and it would still be just fine. Like it would still be ready
Okay.
to drink.
Okay. I was just wondering about like an expiration date or
Yeah.
something. So.
They
Just
kind of live forever. Like,
yeah, they
Right.
have milk kefir grains. As far as I know, have no programmed cell death. So
Yeah.
it's awesome. Yeah, they as
can't
long
be
as you feed
replicated in the
them.
lab either.
Yeah,
Like the ones we got right now are clones from the first ones that ever existed. So.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So when you have someone come to you looking for it, do you usually suggest that they do an overall diet change with it? Or do you just say, do the kefir, it'll take care of itself?
Well, we kind of inform them that kefir will kind of help change their gut bacteria,
Mm-hmm.
and will help them to be directed, and
Okay.
just kind of, because that's kind of how it goes. I mean, I would like to say to anybody that processed foods and sugar are bad, but everybody can't maybe do that so easily.
Right.
But kefir will actually get in there and inhabit your gut, and and get stronger and stronger, and kind of make you forget about eating the stuff maybe that made you sick.
Right.
It'll kind of change your gut bacteria and your cravings.
So even if
Literally.
you're, still eating a bunch of processed food, the kefir will still help.
It'll help. It'll
Yeah.
help in spite of, and kind of make hints, kind of strong hints all the time that you
Yeah.
don't need that stuff.
Yeah, that's what we say. It's like if you're able, yeah, I mean, if you like go for like Mediterranean diet, lots of good oils, more like cultured food and veggies, get those good fats in there, clarified butter. Oh, yeah. No processed carbs, no processed foods, but like if you say that right out to somebody, it's going to have that weird niggly feeling.
Even
I've
if it
had
is
to
going to make them feel like the
Yeah.
most strongest, most healthiest person on earth. You
Right.
don't want to hear
Yeah.
that when you're not ready to hear that.
I was put on diets from about 7 or 8 on, so I know the feeling of someone coming at you and saying like, "Don't eat this, don't eat that."
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you can, yeah, if you want to lessen those, processed carbs, processed foods, get more natural stuff in you, awesome. If you're not ready for that, if you're not comfortable banning yourself from foods, if you're not like quite in that place, then kefir first.
Right.
Just start sipping the kefir, and it's amazing how much easier it is to let go of those processed foods that you've wanted to let go of but you felt addicted to.
Right. Yeah, I think about it like I developed an allergy to wheat. And when I think about why I'm allergic to wheat, it's because
It's not
they
real wheat anymore.
exactly,
Mhm,
and they are
mhm.
like soaking it in glyphosate
Well,
afterwards, which is causing, which I really think the reason my body started rejecting it is because it was causing leaky gut, and my body was like, please stop, and so I actually
I
have a
believe that.
developed an allergy to it. So I'm over here like thinking, I was like, oh, poor pitiful me, I can't have these foods like the top 8, and then when I started looking into them, I kept finding things about those foods that just aren't good. Like the fish are all basically heavy metal, and
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, well that's good. I probably shouldn't eat that anyways. And then I was thinking about even the nuts, which I know a lot of nuts are good, but they can tend to have mold on them, like the way that they store them before you get them. So I
She kind
never
of does
even
like a soaking and a rebaking of them, and like maybe
ah
even soaking them in some water kefir.
okay,
I
Yeah,
actually do
yeah.
soak
to
well,
get the
yeah, I
body.
do soak
Yeah.
nuts and meat and ferment vegetables in water kefir. It's amazing the
Oh
difference it makes.
wow! For how long?
Let's see if let's see. When I do nuts, I'll do a salt water and water kefir and do it for about 24 hours and then
Okay.
strain them because I still do have trouble eating unsoaked, unfermented, or anything like that nuts. If I just like take a handful of nuts and throw them in my mouth,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna feel it. But when I
Uh-huh.
do that, when I soak them and dry them, I can snack on them and it
Right.
not hurt.
That's interesting.
And
I wonder.
I'll take like chicken or something like that. Maybe it was like on sale, for example. But
Right.
I'll soak it. I'll put like soy sauce in water kefir with garlic powder, onion powder, soak it
Uh-huh.
in the chicken for a day or two, and it's like it comes out. Raw chicken doesn't even smell good, but like it comes out so fresh smelling.
Oh my goodness. I would have
It's
never thought to do that.
we
We
have
we
used
put it on our skin,
yeah,
in our hair,
Okay.
in our
Yeah.
yeah.
baths.
It's
Yeah,
amazing. We are still like
yeah.
just now discovering how far kefir can go. It's amazing.
So when you say you put it in your hair, do you like make a little formula out of it or you just
She's done
Well,
some stuff
today,
that thing that you make.
yeah,
Yeah.
today I took some milk kefir and strained it off. It was actually made with heavy cream, so it was really good and thick.
mm-hmm.
And I put a little just like plain mayonnaise, conditioner, stuff like that. And I whipped it with the immersion blender and I put that on my hair at least once a week. And I
Oh,
used to have a lot of trouble with itchy scalp. And something about it, it's different from my other hair treatments because my scalp is not itching like it was. So
wow.
that's really cool because I had a lot of trouble with that.
Yeah. I haven't had it in a while, but when I was a kid, if I got stressed at all, I would get this like dermatitis on my
Mhm.
scalp and it
Mhm.
would just like really eat it up. And it would like burn to wash it and so I would have never thought about using it topically like
Yeah, because
that.
it's anti-inflammatory.
Right.
I have actually water kefir, witch hazel, and some aloe vera that I spray on my face.
See,
Actually,
I'm already
before I put my
using witch hazel and
moisturizer on.
aloe vera every day on my face, so
Yeah,
I could just add that in.
yeah, it works and it stays good. Like it'll start smelling. You'll be like, oh, after a couple weeks,
Uh-huh.
it's might be a little vinegary, but it
I
still
kind of like the
smells
way it smells
fresh
after,
and
yeah.
good.
I've got
And
some water kefir mixed in my hyaluronic acid right now. Like
Okay.
powder that I kind of make with it.
So if you
So,
notice the smell, is that kind of like your sign to go ahead and use that up and start a new one? Is that
yeah,
how you, that's the
or if you
expiration for you? It's
yeah, it's
like,
like, okay, I'll just whip up some more. Or if I leave it in the fridge, that's like super luxurious.
right.
Once I learned that Cleopatra's milk baths are
Uh-huh.
actually Cleopatra's fermented milk baths, I was like,
Oh.
okay, there's something to this. I want to see what's going on here. So that's kind of my big experiment lately.
So do you bathe in it? Do you like just pour it in the water and then like a quart of it or?
You
I
have done
have.
it more,
I've took mini
yes.
baths with like a couple of big old cups of milk kefir in there. It's very luxurious.
Wow.
Milk
Yeah.
kefir actually has a good level of lactic acid in it, which
Uh-huh.
is like, what is in like face and skin products to
Right.
chemically exfoliate. So
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
enjoying it. So far, so good.
Yeah.
It's great.
I'll throw it in there like with the oatmeal bath and kind of rough, and the milk kefir, feels good, and the oatmeal bath kind of, exfoliates. So I like those two
Interesting.
things together.
Is there anything else that you guys would like to share about the kefir before we wrap it up?
Well, I will say that
Um,
it's the cheapest way to heal your gut.
Okay.
Cheapest possible way to heal your gut. That it's, you don't have to go through all this stuff that, there's 100 different things I can say that you have to do, but making milk kefir and drinking it every day can get you started healing your gut, and it might be all you need. And
Right.
it's like $20 to get started, and doing that every day, you'll find your gut problems less and less and less.
exactly. Yeah. Like one of the coolest things about kefir is any class. It's accessible to anyone. The grains might be $10 to $20, but after that, with the milk kefir, all you'll need is a gallon of milk a week. With the water kefir, it's sugar and water, and you go from there.
So
It
cheap.
eats the lactose out of the milk. It eats the sugar out of the water and gives you dozens of strains of beneficial anti-inflammatory, just like gut reshaping awesomeness that, yeah, you don't need hundreds and hundreds of dollars a week or a month to feel good and to wake up with hope and healing every day.
And when your gut gets healed, then everything else will heal up too, literally. We're still so astounded at all the benefits of milk kefir and water kefir for
Right. You
us.
think about $20. I think a month of omeprazole is like what, $30? So
Yeah, and
I
the
could
grains, both milk and water, reproduce
Yeah.
infinitely, and you can keep them, give them to your
Share 'em
friends,
with
or
your
even sell
friends,
them
yeah.
if you want.
Yeah, everybody around us makes it.
Yeah.
Even my exes make it.
Yeah.
wow, that's so cool. I love the community aspect of it, sharing it with others,
Yeah,
and it
it's
just keeps like
sustainable, it's real, it's healing,
And if
it's underground.
you got like a cow and can get a hold of fresh milk, they call that milk champagne.
mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be the best thing in the world. We can't get a hold of any of that right now, but we've had it in goat milk kefir, and it's really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what's the best way for our listeners to contact you all and learn more about you?
Well, right now, that would be our Facebook page. It's called Kefirian Society. It's Kefirian Society, Real Simple Gut Healing. And that's where we share videos of us. We've got a YouTube page that we're getting going right now. We are getting instructional videos set up, workshops, all of that fun stuff.
We've done a 12-part podcast. It's
Yeah, we
on there.
actually do have a 12 episode podcast that we did earlier this year. If you want to check that out, it's on our Facebook page. But
Okay. Is it called the Kefirian Society or?
Kefirian Society, Real Simple Gut Healing on Facebook
Rebels with a Cure.
is the
Oh, that's
podcast.
cute.
Rebels with a Cure.
I love that. I love that.
Cute.
Well, thank you all so much for coming out.
It has
and-
been
Thank you for
such a
having
pleasure
us.
to be here. This has been awesome.
Yes, I can't wait to get some feedback from people, and I know it's gonna reach the people it needs to. So
Yeah,
We hope so.
yeah.
that's
so-
what
Really,
we're
really
here
hope
for.
so, yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much,
Oh,
Thank you for having us.
and thank you all for tuning in. Check us out next week on the Astral Hour.